Hello everybody, it's Aza here again. This time around, it's the review about the new patch that's recently dropped. I know, it's like 3 days ago. It's like pretty late, but I needed to immerse myself into the new combat sector just to understand how it actually functions. So yeah, it took some time because I still have my day job and all. But hey, at least I managed to grind there at least 2 times with, long hours of grinding, I suppose. And the result is, it's pretty good. It's undeniably much better than the previous combat sectors. Like, for the longest time, we have been telling Sega to change the combat sector mechanic like all this freaking time, and the only thing they decided to change is just how you PSC burst. The other maybe kind of a bad thing about Neusen Plant is the jump pads. Now, I know the jump pads exist there for reasons, but you might as well just scale the walls and just double jump up to the platform. Like, you can literally utilize the pipes at the other side of the wall, and you can just jump to the other side of the higher ground, and you can probably actually reach there even faster than using the jump pads. Like, the jump pads are useful when you are in the lower area and you're trying to get up somewhere, but the placement of the jump pads are just all around the place. They didn't really use those jump pads like a super booster or something. It's just a normal, automatic, normal jump distance, It doesn't really give us like that flight motion that you can get from the races or something. Yeah, you don't really get the boosters from the green boosting thingy from the race that you can actually do, So it's not that good. That's why I'm actually rating this like the worst tier of gimmick in this Neusen Plant stage. But for what it is, I guess as a new testing ground for a new jumping gimmick, I guess it's fine. But we already have Encore jump as well, so what else? What gives, Other than that, however, the rest of the updates that's available on this is just way better. Like, if you ask me, the whole thing about like the rest of the other gimmicks of the stages, like for example the decoy bombs that you can actually collect and place randomly, it's basically the base PSO2's launcher PA that is like a decoy kind of a bomb. Yeah, but they actually took that PA and literally made it into a map gimmick instead, which, to be honest, is a much better use than like a useless launcher PA back in base PSO2. So, kudos to them, making it useful nowadays. So basically, these decoy bombers, you can place it literally in front of you. Once you collect it, you can have to time your drop, because it is not like this. It's not like the yellow crystals where you can throw it from a far distance towards the target. It's more like you drop this thing in front of you, and it drops like literally in front of you. So you need to know how to time it, I guess. But after you're placing it, it will become a decoy that aggroes the enemies, so enemies will hit it and it will explode into very decent amount of damage. Not as high as the explosion device that we have just now, but decent enough when you stack it together with your teammates. So yeah, it's also pretty decent for like PSC burst, because the respawn time of these decoy bombs are pretty fast, and not to mention in the stages you also probably have seen those blue rester signs. By the way, these rester signs, you can only pick them up if you use a PA or something, because if you're having like a full PP bar, I guess you sometimes are unable to use it. So sometimes if you see the blue one and you wanted to use it, make sure to waste your PP a little bit before you obtaining it. And for those long range classes, I suggest you guys just stand in front of that. Just stand on top of these blue rester sign respawning place, because they also respawn very quickly, and every time you use it, every time you pick them up, they actually restores your PP gradually. and it's insane. It sometimes actually allows you to just continuously cast your PA, or for launchers and Talis users, it's just insane for PSC bursting. So I would suggest people would just keep on taking this and just keep on firing whatever PA that consumes a lot of PP, like, and does the most AoE damage possible, so that you can clear the PSC burst as fast as possible. And for the rest of the other team who don't really have a lot of like AoE abilities that are as good as the range classes, you can then use the decoy bombs instead. You should be rapidly picking up the decoy bombs and dropping them into the PSC burst zone as much as you can, so that you can cover the most area and so that you kill as much enemies as possible. Do the same with the PSC burst climax bosses, I guess, because yeah, those bombs are pretty decent at destroying them. And also the whole, Megumin Ball of Destruction, or plasma traps, I guess that's what people call it. It requires you to time exactly at the dirt ping where you had to actually dodge. You had to step dodge so that you can actually gain ultra instinct kind of an energy, and then you can actually like throw the attack to the closest enemy that is in front of you or near you or something, and it would just fly towards them and explode in a crazy huge damage. Like this here is a top tier, my dudes, like S tier if you ask me, because if you were to play in the Neusen Plant alone by yourself, it's very, very tough. The enemy is all very, very tanky, and they don't really allow you to pass through them, just like in comparison to like something like Aonore, where you can just vaporize them in short seconds because they are that small and they are so weak and stuff like that. But because there's a lot of Gorons and a lot of those lake guys here, they are built different, like in such a way that you cannot really navigate around them unless you had to use a certain PA that can pierce through their body or something, and it's pretty annoying. However, when you have this ball of destruction, well, you can just throw it to their face and they will just die, because the damage that these explosive devices are just so insane. It does damage from ranges of like 30k to I don't know, 90k, I heard from some people. So it depends on your attack, I guess, but it's probably randomized as well. So hey, utilize it as much as possible. Even if you're far away from the PSC burst zone, you might as well just stay in this purple circle and you just throw it back into that PSC burst zone, and you can see your EXP bar going up. You can see your amount of loot increasing. So yeah, I think if everybody actually does this, everybody will be enjoying this map even much better. So of course, other than that, you also have your typical stage changing gimmick. Like for example, sometimes you change from Aleo, you will change to Quarries, you will change to Retam, you will sometimes change to Stia itself. And if you're very lucky, you can actually meet the Quartz Dragon returning boss, I guess, from base PSO2, which is pretty cool because it actually drops the Dragon Slayer Camo, which I believe everybody is probably wanting it because it's such a great weapon back in base PSO2. But unfortunately, I guess because we still don't have crafting, we cannot really use this weapon yet until maybe in the future, I guess, when they will probably remaster the weapon when there's crafting available. However, so far, Neusen Plant, a great direction for combat sectors in the future. I wish, in the future they will actually, upgrade every single combat sector to have something like this, except for maybe changing the enemy types, because maybe each combat sector zones have their own specific units, specific mobs and bosses, I guess. But that's really it, I guess, for this update. They also updated the geometric labyrinth, but I don't have the time to like completely complete that by myself yet. But hey, I probably wanted to try it out as well to see what kind of loot there is. And Neusen Plant is the drop rate, to be honest, is pretty decent. Just make sure you get like at least the concert boost and maybe activate the 10% tri-boost or something, and you probably getting very decent drop rates if you actually fed your mag and you have taken some food as well. So all in all, even as a non-premium player, it's a very, very enjoyable place to grind. And sometimes it does feel repetitive because it's still another combat sector, but for a short time period of grinding, it's really, really worth it, because sometimes you might get captain trials before and after a PSE burst, and yeah, sometimes it disappears, but sometimes it happens and you can get captains, which is pretty rare, but it happens. And sometimes you also get the interceptor quest where you can also get some infernium, and also sometimes you even get like something like PSC burst forte. And if you manage to get that one, well, make sure to encore it, because yeah, there will be a lot of drops from that PSC burst, because it increases everything literally, including like a lot of gold cream swords, of course. But the best thing that you can ever get in this map is basically gun-blaze weapons, which has a fixer on it. I think they're still selling pretty decently on the market. I'm not sure, but it's only, you know, selling that high for certain weapons. Of course, if you manage to get something like a rifle or a rod, yeah, it's probably going to sell for a very high. Something like Arms Refiner 2 is also something that is very possible to obtain if you use your boosters. If you don't use your boosters, I think they are much more harder to come by. So far, from my experience alone, you need to activate your boosters to at least see more of the Arms Refiner dropping. But since you only use like 2 on a certain armor or a weapon, I don't really think you need more than like 8 of them, I guess. But hey, I guess most people will probably want to stockpile them up, because, you know, they have multiple characters and multiple loadouts and stuff like that. So, you know, getting more than one is still possible. If you really cannot find it, you can still exchange it from the item lab NPC. They can allow you to exchange like 2 for a week or something. But yeah, other than that, just go to Neusen Plant if you want to get more Arms Refiner. Alright, I guess that's all I wanted to talk about in this new update. So far, it's very enjoyable, and I like the direction that Sega is going towards for the combat sector. Let's just hope for the best for the new Aegis content. Oh yeah, there's also new weapons, but hey, I'm gonna leave that for another time in the future to understand it when the rest of the information of the weapon is available. So that's all for today, and sayonara.